Alright, so WWE finally gave something that a lot of people want. They gave Brock Lesnar getting dominated by Oba. And while this has been something that a lot of people thought could have been the plan, other than Gunther, you know, I was like, the thing came out that he didn't want to lose before his retirement. And while it looks, I was like, they're going ahead according to plan. I think, because I was like, a lot of people was like, well, what about Gunther and all that? If he wasn't going to retire at WrestleMania, then that wasn't going to be the match anyway. So that's later down the road, possibly. So anyway, it's Oba. But, and then there was some other rumors that it would be like LA Knight. Mainly because it's like, also too, it's like, well, if somebody can lose to Brock Lesnar, it'd be LA Knight. And I'm not going to lie, I was like, while that would be the case, I don't really see how LA Knight really would fit in there. Like, yes, he's a guy that could have lost, but I'm like, that to me, there's so many other people that you would have chose that could stand up or fight Brock Lesnar that would sort of have a fighting chance, but are going to lose. Like, if it had been Sami Zayn, we're like, he's going to get wiped out by Brock Lesnar, but he'll do his I have a chance underdog, power up, whatever. LA Knight to me doesn't have that in that same way. But you also got to give somebody credible to Brock Lesnar. Oba fits that because he's a big guy. It's almost, I feel like they're doing a 2.0 of what they did with Omos. Where it was like a big, huge dude, strong, like, can Brock Lesnar pick this guy up kind of thing. And the thing is that while their match at WrestleMania was really good, Omos just didn't have the backing needed in order to fulfill that spot to make it even as large as life as they best big as they are. Oba has that. He has his stuff with, of course he has his stuff with NXT, but I was like, he also had a good showing at the Royal Rumble. I was like, he's been doing appearances here, being dominating and stuff like that. So it does make sense. Now the problem here is that will he get the treatment of, like, I was like, because he's a bigger guy and Brock has sort of been with bigger guys. I was like, I think Omos got good treatment from Brock, where like someone like Braun Strowman, not particularly. Like, they seem like that did not mesh that well. Roman always had, but Roman was the guy, I'm trying to think of like who else is there. I was like, Drew got the treatment from. I was like, got the good treatment from Brock. Randy doesn't count. Randy's like an older guy, all that. But I was like, I'm trying to think of somebody on that bigger scale. Somebody on a smaller scale, I was like, AJ did, Daniel Bryan did. I was like, Rey Mysterio did. Ricochet, no bueno. Did not work. Did not help. Not going to go on. So now they're sort of in the corner because, and I was like, I was going to tell you who I would have chose so that this would have fit a little bit better. But they have put themselves in the corner because we all know who should win. It's Oba. Oba should win. But is he going to win? Because this is Brock, and it's like, yes, Brock does Brock things where he's like, I'm going to win regardless of whatever's going on a lot of times. But also, I feel like WWE, Triple H, whoever you want to say, they also make it very apparent of he's going to win as well too. Not saying that Brock could just do whatever, but I feel like they're also aligned in being like, Brock's a monster, Brock's this, he's going to get his way as well. And I feel it feels difficult of like, cause I'm like, on one hand, I was like, I do understand their way of thinking, like he should win it all until his retirement match. That way, it's like whoever retires on Gunther or somebody else, that they get a big rub from it. Now, in saying that, if it is somebody like Gunther or when it's his retirement match, we already know he's going to lose in such a way that the rub will work, but will it be like an Austin Theory, John Cena type of thing? Like Gunther sort of got a rub by taking out John Cena, because it was up in the air if he would actually lose. I was like, But with this, we sort of feel like Brock is going to let somebody take him out in order to get that rub. Now, if it's another person that's not Gunther, that's a different ball game. But I also think that he should lose. Like, I think the case for this one, to me, is that he loses against Oba. And I think that's actually better because now it looks like, oh, if there's a little something in his aura, in his armor now that's like, where it's like, oh, Brock, I like, like to where I was like, I feel like Brock actually he lost. I was like, it'd be cool when you over here to beat up on John Cena, who's the same age, who's as old as you are, and all these other things. But a younger guy, I was like, to where it's like he's not gonna be on TV that many times between now and when he faces off in SummerSlam. So you have to sort of make good on his appearances. So it's like if say he has like 3 or so times until then, he loses here. I was like, that should make him angry to where it's like, yeah, maybe he fights somebody else that's also a little bit on Oba's like that high end of like, oh man, 50, he loses that one. Then he should probably face somebody else that he should win against. And then I was like, he had another one that he wins against. Then it's the SummerSlam one. That way it's like it's been 50-50. And then whoever is the one, that way it could be up in the air. Does Brock go out of winning like he still got it, But this is also Brock that we're talking about, and I don't know if we get that type of story. Like, it's like, is he still the monster? Is he still the beast that we all have seen him be ever since he came back and started being like Suplex City? I don't know. So that's why that is hard for them to be put in the corner. But Oba should win regardless. Now, for my choice, and this would have been a whole thing. If the whole thing with he doesn't want to lose until his retirement match, cool. You also wanted to have somebody that that he would beat. That would be okay. That wouldn't hurt that person if they would get beat either, but also could be a good showing WrestleMania match. And I think that would be Javon Evans. I think Javon Evans would have been the good pick if you wasn't going to get, I guess, the dream scenario of Oba, and that's only a dream scenario if he wins. Somebody I'm like, look, Javon's not going to beat Brock. There's no way that they would do that. They would sell that. I mean, they would sell like he could, but he gives you a good underdog story because it's obvious where it's like from either the age, the amount of wrestling, the size, whatever you want to put it. He's an underdog to Brock Lesnar. He's also someone young that everybody is complaining about, like, and not having any, like, what are you doing with the young guys? You need to hurry up and move them up. All these type of things. He's that. I was like somebody that Brock can put over as well, but he could be put over in a loss. And we have seen Brock work really well with smaller guys. I was like, yes, AJ and Daniel were a lot more seasoned, and they're not, especially at that time, they're not the high flyers that jumping off in the same way that Javon is. But I think it would have worked because Javon, with his speed, with how he jumps and all that other stuff, could have gave some run of the money. I was like, he's not really going to threaten Brock, but he is going to be able to make Brock, work a little bit. He'll have his like rah moment. He'll have his Brock trying to throw him. Guess what? He flips. He lands on his feet. I was like, that stuff would work. Jumping off the top rope, I was like, Brock might try to catch him, launch him. He can still land. You can still do all that cool stuff. And I think also what would have helped, would have worked in all this, is it would have gave you a chance to sort of do better with the Kofi Kingston thing. I was like, Javon, who is like, as you see him trying to get recruited to the New Day. I think I think it would be even more cool if Javon got into the New Day right around the same time, and that way it could be a little bit something more like poetic. It's some training. You would have Kofi involved or whatever, but he would have to really sort of be more part of the New Day, not standoffish to the New Day because Kofi wouldn't have their heels now. But it'll be a little bit of redemption, because the way that Kofi went out with Brock, that everybody knows, in like 30 seconds was crap. As much as even if you didn't like the Kofi run, and it's like, even though we knew that wasn't going to be, like, Kofi wasn't going to beat Brock, that's fine. But the way it happened, Javon could be basically the 2.0 with that, doing that better. I was like, being what Kofi was back in the day, of a young, high flying type of guy, and I was like, just having a chance against Brock Lesnar, you can make that. That's the hard. You can make that also into the whole story of like Javon being like, I gotta prove myself. You know what they say? If you want to prove yourself, you gotta take out the biggest dog, or whatever you want to say. I was like, you could have him get recruited in the New Day within amount of this same time as well, and you could have had a whole thing of like it being like, oh, I'm gonna do this for Kofi and everybody in this whole sense. You could have made it. You could have made it a big thing, and like, guess what? When he does lose against Brock, I was like, you can have Brock being like, man, like sweating. I was like, that youngster gave me for my money, but still at the end of the day, I'm Brock Lesnar. He can lose. Javon could just be in the middle of the ring. He gave it his all. You can have Brock do I was like, and what I also thought about this was how Brock and like Jeff Hardy, and I was like, kind of like Javon, sort of like Hardy, RVD. It reminds you that, like, that type of thing as well, other than like Kobe and stuff, and how Brock would beat Javon, but he doesn't like destroy him. He just he beats him. Javon just sort of just like he does the Jeff Hardy thing that Jeff Hardy did with the Undertaker, where it's like, I'm not done. I still got more to go. I was like, you can even have him get another F5, and Javon gets back up, and then Brock just like picks him up, like pats him on the back really hard, and then just leaves out. And then I was like, you ain't, and it's like, it's not even Brock necessarily being like a good guy. He ain't got to raise his hand or nothing like that in that same way Undertaker did with Jeff Hardy. But it would just be like an acknowledgement. I was like, he did good. He held his own. You ain't no punk. This whole thing. It could have been. I was like, that way. Brock keeps winning. I was like, Javon gets the rub. Javon looks tough. Javon held his own against Brock Lesnar. I was like, he could be elevated immediately into a bunch of title runs. Whether it's like mid card, or you just want to dump him. Say it's I was like Punk's next match. Cause at Backlash they always just give us a regular match and not a feud or anything like that. He could easily just be thrown in, and you wouldn't bat an eye, because he just faced off with Brock Lesnar and was able to, hold his own or whatever. And I think that would have been good. I think Oba will be fine if he wasn't facing Brock. I think he's fine. He's Goliath. He would have been good. There really ain't any other young people. Tricking Brock does not work in this situation. But Javon, I feel like, is going to need a little something. You already see Oba got it, you see Trick got it, Javon needs a little something. I think he's the one that could benefit for something like this way more than Oba. But I was like, but we're here now, and I was like, Oba has to win, really, because I was like, unless they do a feud where it's like Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley, I think that will work if they could just sort of have them be monsters, take each other out or whatever. And I was like, not necessarily like a DQ thing, but they just wreck everything and they make this into like several more things. Then I think that's the only way you could really, like, if like Brock Lesnar being Oba at WrestleMania works, if they come back to it immediately for like Backlash, and they just keep on going with this kind of thing. And to be honest, that might be the best route. Say Brock Lesnar, I was like, Oba face off, Brock Lesnar gets this one, Oba gets the second one, and then like they cool off or whatever like that, and Brock Lesnar just can't let it go, and he's like, Oba, I want you one more time. Say last man standing, and Oba's like, only thing I want from you is your career, or something like that. And that's how the SummerSlam thing happens, or whatever. Anyway, I was like, I feel like I done booked basically the match that's not going to happen of Javon, and the match that is going to happen to Oba, or whatever. Maybe that'll make that into like a whole separate thing, because WrestleMania going to come up, so we're going to have A lot of those videos. But anyway, let me know how you feel about Oba and Brock. How you feel about if my idea of Javon would have worked. Or any of these things. That works fine with me. Anyway, let me know what you think. Till then, roll to WrestleMania.